What's up, guys? It's Shane Larson here, the Boise Buckeye, here on Scarlet and Gray, co-host alongside Corey and Johnny here on the network. And I'm excited to be bringing you some more Buckeye content. Excited to be here with you guys today as we continue to grow this channel and keep the Buckeye spirits high during this offseason, especially. So, first off, give me a go Bucks in the comments so we can get the conversation rolling. I love seeing the comments. I'll be in there conversing with you guys. Make sure to leave us some comments. Give me a go Bucks so that we can connect and build this community and this family. We want to hit 400 subscribers, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you share this with the rest of Buckeye Nation. That's the next thing here. We want to keep this show growing, and we need your help to do it. All right. Today, I'm going to be bringing you some content from an interview that I did with Sally Lanyon. She's the co-creator of Brutus Buckeye, the mascot for the Bucks. Okay, it's an interview I did on my podcast called The Game Time Guru, and it's an amazing opportunity to find out about the origin of Brutus, right? Some cool stories that she has, and whatnot. So stay tuned, listen to the entire snippet of this interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it, because even the OG Buckeye fans, I found out, didn't even realize some of these stories. They didn't know the origin of Brutus, so they found out through this interview, and I wanted to share with you guys today. So I hope you enjoy. Oh, wow. So this actually just makes it even that more interesting to me then, because you go to college, you go to Ohio State, you said you were kind of infatuated with mascots. You liked the idea of like the mascots when you were younger. You get to Ohio State. At the time, they didn't have a mascot?
Right.
Okay.
No mascot. And I didn't even realize that. I was pretty much a small town girl that didn't have much awareness of the bigger world. I started dating a boy from New Jersey, and he's the one that said, this doesn't make sense that Ohio State doesn't have a mascot. So we started talking about it, and he wanted to have we just decided that we would be the ones to make the mascot, and he wanted a buck's eye, because it was the Buckeyes, and I said, no, not exactly. The Buckeyes is a tree. It's the state tree of Ohio. It has a nut on it. And then when you're thinking about what you could see visually from the top deck, it had to be a big Buckeye, a big round thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the start of it. And it was near homecoming of my junior year. So that was 1965. And up on Fraternity Row, while other people were making their floats for the homecoming parade, we made them out of papier-mache then. And we made this thing that was this round ball. Let me see if I can show you. This is my t-shirt that has the original one on it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see it.
Wait a minute. So that first one with the big eyes. Now it's not right that it has arms that go in the O for Ohio, because this had no arms. There was a dispatch reporter that called it a big bowling ball with legs. So that's what it really looked like. It was just a big round sphere with guys' legs hanging out, and with the big eyes. And then I had slats for eyebrows that could go, upset, happy, kind of a thing. And then it had a fixed smile on the bottom. So that was the very first Buckeye that came out.
That is awesome. So it's just I know a lot of people who listen to the show may not even know, like, people ask me all the time, what is a Buckeye? It's a nut, right? So Sally's talking about it's a nut.
It's a nut.
So that's why everyone's like, oh, it's a nut. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so that picture right there, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, I'll make sure to put some social clips here too. A bowling ball with legs is perfect way to put it. This is so interesting to me though, because this is 1965, mid 60s, that we're looking into like getting a mascot out of paper mache.
Right.
What was the initial reaction from, I guess, not only the students, but the fan base? Like when they kind of saw this for homecoming and stuff, did you get a pretty good reaction from people?
Okay. We didn't do it on the float.
Okay. So where'd you put it?
So we brought it out at halftime at the Minnesota game. My then boyfriend, Ray Borges, had been a walk-on for the Ohio State football team. He wasn't on the team in 1965, but he had tried out for it. So he kind of understood what was going on underneath the stadium, and he figured out a place that he could hide it. So I'm up in the stands with my sorority sisters watching the game, actually frightened that who this kid that we got to, it was a cheerleader that we got to wear the head. I thought, they're gonna so arrest this kid. This was the time, Shane, that there were a lot of streakers going out on the field, and they would get tackled and taken away by the police. And I envisioned that for this. It was amazing. The fans got it right away. They realized it was a Buckeye and that it was a mascot. It just was very, very overwhelming. And the athletic department came out and said that they were going to approve it. We had no approval prior to doing this. Ray was in Ohio Staters, and he had some connections there that helped us pay for, I think they might have reimbursed our materials for the first one. And then, paper mache is not going to last. You can't travel with that or anything.
Right.
So they quickly made a fiberglass model. And that's the one you saw until the very late 70s. That was just more of a glossy dark brown. And I studied cartoons to figure out what kind of face to put on it. So it was, and again, I was always thinking, if you're way up there in C deck, what can you see? So, put the holes in the round ball, and I made just eyes that were just cartoon eyes. And then I added a nose. We didn't have a nose on the original one, a button nose. And then the smile for this one, you could turn upside down into a frown. So you could move the eyebrows and the smile. So that was the big improvement on that one. Plus, it was the fiberglass that was going to be able to travel if you had a car big enough. That was a problem. But anyway, yeah.
I love that. Okay, so it's super cool for me to hear like the fan reaction, right? Because you were nervous. You're sitting there like,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going to happen to this guy?
Yeah.
There's a history of streakers at the time, like you said, the history at the moment. Just put yourselves back in that moment as we're listening to Sally tell about that. And just imagine, like, I can imagine the anxiety that you might have had, just like, what's going to happen? And then just the relief and I guess excitement at that point of like, okay, they really like this. The fans caught on to it. Like, this is really cool. Just that overall, it's one of those things that I always say, like you execute now and ask for forgiveness later, rather than like,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
hope
Yeah.
for the best and ask for forgiveness later. And that's it. Ultimately what happened. Like you guys you did something, weren't sure how it was going to be executed and how it was going to be received. And all of a sudden it just takes off. You get the fiberglass model. It starts to roll. When did you graduate or finish school, I should say? And did you continue working with the mascot moving forward, even when you were done with school at Ohio State?
I graduated in March 1967.
Okay.
And by 6 months later, I was married, and another year later, I had my first child. Now we had 60 or 50-yard line tickets, football tickets, so we kept in touch with what was going on. But during the time that I was there, it was always the fiberglass. So Brutus wasn't doing the tricks that he can do now, all of that kind of thing. It was just kind of this big thing lumbering around the field and getting the crowd cheered up. Well, first it got the crowd mad because a lot of the students were sitting down on the field level before. This is before it was the whole revision of the football field. There was a track around the field, and there were bleacher seats that went down. And the students that were sitting right on the field level, if Brutus was in front of them, they were, boo, get out of the way. It was like, so that was a funny thing. But on the jacket of the book that Ray and I finally wrote about this, our publisher wrote at the very end, said, who knew? Who knew at that point in the mid-60s that something as silly as this would have such an evolution and such a history and become the iconic symbol of Ohio State that it is today?
That's why I think it's so awesome what you guys did. I am so inspired by the fact that you guys you were creative and you put it out there. And now we're in 2020. And I mean, I've got a bobblehead of the Brutus.
Yes.
I mean, that he's iconic is exactly what you said. It's part of the whole entire, it's just as much of the team as the band is. Like, it's just the whole program is it encompasses everything. And Brutus is a big part of that. Tell me this, though, the name Brutus, who came up with that?
We did arrange for a campus-wide Name the Mascot contest. There were, I think, over 60 entries. Now, this contest was mainly run by Ohio Staters. There was the student faculty advisor and some of the Ohio Stater members. There might have been some other people, but there were about 8 judges on this. After all the entries came in, and this was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after we made the first one. I mean, things moved very fast. I'm going to do a sidebar on this. At one point, I was doing an oral history with the OSU archives. The attorney that has the licensing aspect of Ohio State, actually, I'm not sure he's an attorney, but it's an attorney type role with licensing all the Brutus products. He was sitting there listening to me and he said, that never could happen now. So much bureaucracy. You know, this all happened within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So anyway, and that was the fun part of it. I mean, we didn't know any better. So getting back to the naming contest, they met in, and I'm thinking it must have been the faculty club because I remember there being dark wooden walls. Now, I was allowed in the room, but Ohio Staters at that time was an all men's organization. Now there's women in it. So I had the ballot, and when I do still have a copy of the ballot, and one of my future blogs is going to be on that, the various names that came up. And the committee hashed over all of the names. The guy that was under the Brutus head that first year, Mike Caprol, he recalls that the faculty advisor came out of the room and said to him, Mike, they were down to a couple of names. What do you think? And that's when Mike said he thought Brutus was the better choice. Now, when they announced the winner, it was Carrie Reed of Dublin, Ohio. And I noticed on the sheet, there was a Brutus Buckeye. And then there was something else like Bucky the Buckeye. It had the in it.
Right.
And when it was finally announced, it came out as Brutus the Buckeye. So for years, I called him Brutus the Buckeye. And then, you know, as we get into now, I left Ohio in 1980. So I lost track for a while. I go, what? You know, where's his middle name? So I still like to call him Brutus the Buckeye.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Sally. If you want to hear the whole entire thing, you can go to episode 176 of the Game Time Guru podcast. You can find that on any podcast platform if you want to hear my show. It's not Buckeye specific, but because this interview was specific to Buckeye Nation, that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. I felt it was a cool opportunity for you guys to hear more about the origin of Brutus, and you can hear the whole thing again on episode 176 of the Game Time Guru podcast. Before we sign off, everyone, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure to share this with your friends and family. And in the comments, give me your favorite memory of Brutus.